You have just tapped into the Christian Life Coach Collective, and I'm your host, Laura Malone. I'm here to equip and encourage coaches in skills, business, personal life, and faith. I believe you're already 100% worthy and capable, and you're called for such a time as this. So let's get you walking it out with courage and confidence so you can be an amazing coach who sees transformation and great results in both your life and the lives around you. Let's get started. So in episode 310, I told you that the most powerful coaching tool that you can have is not a certification or a perfect niche. It's your story, right? That's your strategy. Inside your lived experience is the very thing someone else is praying for right now. A guide who's been there and come through it. Someone who understands point A, went to point B, found a bridge, right? And can look back in hindsight and shout across the bridge, hey, you can make it over here. It's totally possible. We really, I think, often underestimate the value of our own process. But maybe you've walked through things like burnout or rebuilt your confidence and navigated grief and launched something from scratch. Maybe you reclaimed your identity after years of living on autopilot. Or those moments, I don't know, they feel messy when you're in them. But they shape how you think and then how you lead and how and who you can help. And coaching, especially the kind of work we do here, it's not about becoming an expert who knows it all. It's about stewarding the journey that you've walked, the path that you took, and using it as a bridge to help someone else cross their own. You don't need to know everything. You just need to know what you know. So I want you to think about the three areas of wisdom, skills, and experiences. So what have you lived through that taught you something real and lasting and sustainable for you? And what principles or truths or frameworks came out of it? And your skills, like what have you learned to do that others ask you about? Or what comes naturally to you now that once felt, foreign or impossible? And then your experiences. What moments have marked you, shaped your values, and changed how you see the world and take action? And then those three things together, they can form the core message of your coaching offer, because people don't just want a how-to guide. They, like every good movie, they want to see someone who's gone through it, who's experienced the trials and tribulation and had a villain chasing them who accomplishes something in the end. Somebody who can say, I remember being in the place you're in, and here is what helped me. So let's walk this out together. And then when you learn to tell your story with purpose, and intention, it's not for your own validation or attention, but you're doing it for connection. It becomes the foundation of a message that actually solves a problem for somebody and invites them into transformation. That makes you not just a coach, but like a guide, right? So your story is not just your past, it's the future strategy and the heartbeat of a consultant coach. It's a hybrid model that I'm going to start teaching more about, because a lot of us aren't just the life coaches who want to sit and listen. We have lived through stuff and built things and led people and parented kids and walked through the valleys and then started all over. And we don't just know how to ask powerful questions. We have wisdom and an experience to offer. But we want to do it in a way that's not overriding our client's ownership. Hear me out here, though. I think life coaches who use the model of listening and asking without consulting on anything is valuable and it's needed, but I believe it works best for the right client who says that's what they want. Then you should offer it. I have just personally found that when I used to coach that way without knowing for sure my client wanted me to keep wisdom, skills, and experience to myself, they didn't get great results, and I wasn't personally moved by the power of the session and the work, because most of my clients want the feedback and tools and experience and the stories and the guidance on how to navigate from their point A to point B. So that's what I began offering. It's what everything has kind of turned into. It's been a blast doing that. A consultant coach offers insight and tools and frameworks and even direction when needed, not saying that you have to do it this way, but always having the mindset that the client's the one in the driver's seat. So it's not about giving them our path and saying you have to follow this. It's about offering what we've learned and helping them find their own way. So if you've ever wondered how to bring together your story and your skills and your spiritual gifts into something that actually helps somebody move forward, this might actually be your lane. Consultant coaching is about bringing the full weight of your experience to the table with humility and with wisdom. So it's going to help you blend what you've lived and what you've built and the way that you naturally help people. It is a model that honors both your story and your skills. And I think it's really for the woman who listens well and asks thoughtful questions and creates safety for, a space for the client, but who also has wisdom and experience that she can share when the moment is right. So if you've ever thought I love coaching, but I think sometimes the people in front of me need more than just reflection, they need direction. They're craving it. Or you thought that you've lived through so much and you know what helps, but you don't want to be pushy or overstep, then this is a great way to create a container for it. If you've ever wondered if you can guide people without rescuing them and offer your knowledge without taking over, this is how you do it. Yes, you can. Consultant coaching creates that opportunity, and the world is full of people looking for help. Honestly, we're generations of motherless and fatherless people feeling powerless to make changes and figuring out what we need to do on our own. We're meant to need people. And honestly, in this culture, it's hard to find people. You can be surrounded by friends and followers online and not have anybody to turn to. And now people are just turning to ChatGPT and saying, can you help me? There's actually online AI therapy. It's crazy. Hire a coach, friend. If you don't want to, counseling is something completely different. But if you want help going forward, moving from this point A today to a point B you want, a coach is amazing. So it's like a hybrid approach, holding space like a coach, but leading more like a mentor or a guide or consultant when the client wants and needs that. So it's really flexible and intuitive, but still very human for those people in front of us. So I want to break it down into two hats. The coach hat is very curious and says what do you think is happening here and what matters most to you right now? What would you like to try? What have you done that worked and why do you think it worked? What didn't work and why do you think it didn't work? The consultant hat is wise, right? So it says, here's something I've seen that could work. Would it help if I share a few ideas? Or can I tell you what helped me when I was in a similar season? Or this is, I'm hearing from the Lord. I was in prayer, or as you were speaking, I feel God downloaded something to me. So the key is that you're not forcing advice, you're just offering it with their permission. And you're enriching the conversation with the client. You're not hijacking it. You're not skipping their process. You're offering support with your insight and structure, like the giftings, the wisdom that God has given you. So consultant coaching works especially well for women who, I would say, have had any kind of life-altering experience, have built something like a business or a ministry, some kind of movement, even a family, are naturally women who are naturally drawn to teaching, guiding, and offering their perspective with gentleness, not I'm right, you're wrong, but with compassion and mercy. And women who care deeply about not overstepping, but still want to have an opportunity to lead, right? So this model actually allows you to bring your whole self into the conversation, not just your listening skills, but your wisdom, not just empathy, but experience, and not just curiosity, but the kind of clarity that you have to offer. And then how do you know when to switch hats, right? You're always going to be a great listener and a great question asker. So start by listening fully, being fully present as a coach. in their mind, not in your head. So coaching is the foundation and presence is the starting place for that. And then when the client's ready, when they're open and they're asking, you can gently step into the consultant space. And when you do that well, it's going to sound like, would you like me to share a few things that have helped me here? Or I've seen a few patterns in situations like this. Can I offer a different perspective? And this is yours to choose, but if it's helpful, I've seen other people try this or I've done this before. So you're not trying to take control. You're just kind of, you're walking down the path with them, but you're also putting light on the path. And the beauty of that is that your client still owns the decision and they get to do the reflecting and the receiving and be seen and supported. So they get the best of both worlds because you've done your work to lead with intention, not your ego and your needs. And they get your experience and wisdom and skills. So if you've been thinking like, do I have to choose between being a coach and being a mentor, being a coach, being a consultant, whatever, the answer is no. You just have to learn how to dance between the two. I'm going to be offering ways for you to learn how to do that, to use a coaching foundation and bring your own voice and story and method into the room, bring it to the table. Because there's so many people out there that need your experience, not just your heart as a coach, but all of that hard-won wisdom. Not just great question asking, but the guidance that you have that can dovetail with it. So if that's who you feel like you could be, then this model would be for you. And my challenge to you this week is to take, list a few things. Let's go three. List three things that you've been through or things that you've built or processes you've walked through that people might ask you about or benefit from. And then think about how you might walk somebody through those same things and reflect on not just advice and skills and wisdom and experience that you have, but the presence and reflection and support you can offer. Because that's consultant coaching. It's the future of personal transformation. Might just be your lane. So in the next episode, we're going to talk about how to add coaching and potentially consultant coaching to your existing business or ministry, especially if you're a writer, a speaker, pastor, leader, as somebody who's ready to go deeper. And keep your ears open for that. Until then, remember all things are possible and everything's figure-outable. We can do it together. Thanks for listening. For more coaching resources and to learn how to work with me, head to sterlingandstonementoring.com or click the link in the show notes. Remember, walk boldly in your calling, and I'll talk to you next time.